And now, Alan Jones comments. Thanks to Marcel, Australian-made gravies, herbs, spices and stocks.
It's almost 7 after 7 on Monday, November 23. A cool and cloudy day. All that heat from yesterday is over. There is some wind outside. There could be a morning storm. A top of 21, 15 at Katoomba. It's to be hoped Australians can understand what their government is seeking to do to them in relation to ramming through legislation in relation to this Copenhagen meeting on so-called climate change. A couple of points first. Last year I spoke to the world-famous ecologist David Bellamy. David who, I hear you say? The man who used to be on our television screens has disappeared. It began a decade ago, as an article in an English magazine recently reminded me, when David Bellamy dared to suggest that global warming is not the result of man's activities, which are part of a cycle which has been changing inexorably for thousands of years. Well, this was too much for the politicised BBC, who promptly dropped him from their schedules. And as the writer said in that magazine article, if I've learned anything as a journalist, it's never to believe everything the media tells you, especially when it comes to climate change. Then an interesting piece from Bjorn Lomborg, the adjunct professor at the Copenhagen Business School and the author of The Sceptical Environmentalist and Cool It. He warned us that the most efficient global carbon cuts, if you want to keep the temperature where the global warming nuts would want it, would cost US $40 trillion a year by the year 2100. And he makes the point, for the money it takes to save one life with carbon cuts, smarter policies could save 78,000 lives. And he offers an example. He says providing vitamins A and zinc to 80% of the 140 million or so undernourished children in the world would require a commitment of only 60 million US annually. Or, for US 286 million, we could get iron and iodine to more than 2.5 billion children. As Lomborg says, the choice is stark. For a few $100 million, we could help almost half of humanity now. Compare this to the investments that are going to be needed to tackle so-called climate change, 40 trillion US annually by the end of the century. I mean, it reaches the point of stupidity. Increasingly, Australians are waking up to the fact that levels of CO2 have been with us throughout the course of history without any significant increase or decrease in temperature and without any damage to the planet. And temperatures are now actually decreasing and have done so for the past decade. Hence that lot in Canberra have changed the language. It's not global warming now we're fighting, but climate change. Closer to home, Ray Williams, the member for Hawkesbury in the State Parliament, made the point that the water level at Fort Denison in the middle of Sydney Harbour, because remember the water's going to wash away everything between here and Dubbo. The water level at Fort Denison in the middle of Sydney Harbour, it's been there for 200 years, has remained consistent over the entire period of time. And as he says, ETS and CPRS schemes will do nothing to reduce the air pollution of our cities, which are killing millions of people each year through illnesses like emphysema, lung cancer and asthma. Yet here we have a massive new level of tax that's going to enter every crevice of our lives and inexorably put people on the unemployment scrap heap. I read a piece at the weekend by Dr. John Blakemore, voted one of the top 10 innovative and entrepreneurial engineers by the Professional Institute of Engineers way back in 2007, and he said, Spain has already embarked on an active program of limiting carbon dioxide emissions, and the results have been catastrophically bad regarding unemployment, the economy generally, and the standard of living. And he makes the point yet again, as I've made a million times, carbon dioxide is a clear and harmless gas, not a pollutant, and indeed an elevation of carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere would increase plant and crop yields by up to 70%. Well, this is why there's been no debate. And what passes as debate, both in the Parliament and the media, is simply the vilification of people who dare to challenge the rubbish that's trotted out as global warming. Most Australians don't understand what this is about, because very little has been told to them. Well, I say this to you. If you don't know what it's about, make sure you vote no about anything that's designed to address an issue that has not been explained to you.